Hey, all you wanderlusters and hometown heroes. This is Remain, Roam, Return, a podcast that pits your hometown lifestyle against the allure of far-off frontiers. In the show, we are going to try to settle the age-old debate on whether it is better to be the local legend or the one that got away.
And we are your host. I am Christian.
And I am Damien.
And together, we are going to spend each episode trying to discover which lifestyle truly is best. Is it better to stay close to the roots that raised you, or to fly away into the unknown?
Yep, and during these conversations, we will be discussing personal experiences and asking guests for their input to decide once and for all whether it is better to remain, roam, or return. Oh,
hey,
welcome
there.
back. Wow. Well, I think it's safe to say, since we haven't recorded in like a month, I haven't seen you since 1960.
Yeah.
It's like, I think Christian has been looking into how to amp up the crowd engagement of the podcast.
Live audience, baby.
Got a live audience. Welcome, everybody, back to Remain, Roam, Return. It has been, it feels like, thank you. You see, what's going to happen now is you're going to boost my ego even more. Like, I will interrupt you all the time, but if people start clapping and cheering, I'll shut up real quick. So that, I think that's going to be a strategy for you if I start talking too much. Just give me a... Well, that's not a clap. That's a little more disappointing.
Yep.
I prefer laughter or clapping or cheering.
It is a terrible thing you got here into the waiting room before I got in, because that just gave me time with my ADHD just to start clicking things.
Yeah, to the listeners, I came in about 45 seconds after Christian, and by that point he already had a welcome for me, which was just a standing ovation when I walked in.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. That's just him punching me in the mouth every time I get annoying.
Yes. through the internet.
My favorite thing too is it's going to be so funny when none of that sound comes through. So nobody has any idea what we're doing.
I made sure it did.
Oh my God. Well, anyways, I see you've been busy with this stuff, but I don't think you and I have spoken for over a month at this point.
Well, not like via this, but like we have the
like text messages.
Yeah, and the Instagram group chat with Keegan, which is just the dumbest of things.
Yeah, I try to find the most absurd, disturbing things I can and send it through there because I don't know what that's for.
That is someday going to be shown in front of a jury of why these men did what they did.
Justification and or evidence, one of the two.
Yep, or to be like, yes, these men are not sane. They did not know they were committing crimes.
Yeah, it'll either put us in jail or get us off, and that's all I can really hope for in a group chat.
Yeah, I think the one I most recently posted was, what was it? Positions within a company if they were fart noises.
Yeah, I didn't really know how to respond to that one. I was like...
I think that's the best, when it's just silence.
Yeah, no response is the best response for Christian.
I think for all of us. It's just like...
I don't know, man. I'm going for gasps.
Going for gas. I think we're all three so immune to anything. It's just like, well, yeah.
Yeah, well, that tracks. Anyways... welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to us, just us two for a change. Yeah. I feel like we've been recording a lot of guest episodes, and then I went to New Orleans and now I'm
Would
officially
have.
back from NOLA, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking a cocktail out of my gree glass to commemorate the trip. But yeah, it's good to be back. NOLA fucking rules. I understand the hype behind it now. I had never
Yeah.
been there before, and everybody kept telling me how I specifically needed to go. They're like,
Yeah,
"You're going to love it."
I could see it. I've also heard it being very hit or miss. And you definitely like the people I know who love New Orleans are like your vibe more.
Yeah, and I could even tell you. I mean, for me personally, the trip was a it was mostly a hit for the most part. But I can see when people say it's hit or miss. I can see where the misses come into play.
Yeah.
I can see where the disconnect is. But to be 100% honest, I'm like, we were there walking around, and I was looking at Zillow. I was like, ooh, this is tempting. You know, that old
Yeah.
architecture is just so badass. You don't get that in
Oh
many
yeah.
places.
Oh yeah. The town's it's just so old and historic.
Yeah, I didn't realize that New Orleans as a city, as a town, has been there since before America was founded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you get there and you see all the Spanish and French influence with
Mm-hmm.
the architecture and the food, and the way that the city is built
Mm-hmm.
is just very non-American.
Yes, it's very
You know,
European style.
yeah, yeah, it was really cool. So I'm back, baby, but it was really cool.
So, how long were you there for?
Like 5 days.
5 days. Do you think that
Yeah.
was the perfect amount, or like too long or too short?
Well, I think that depends on what is your goal in visiting New Orleans. Are you going there strictly to party?
Okay.
Because if you're going there strictly for, Mardi Gras and to drink on the street and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I think probably 3 days is good, because I don't know that
Yeah.
people
Like a
will
Vegas
survive.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know people will survive more than
Yeah.
3 days doing stuff like that. And you can do that literally your whole life if you wanted to in New Orleans. I mean, the way they have that place set up, you could live that way your whole life and
Yeah.
never hit the same place twice,
Hmm.
because your life would be very short. But
Yeah.
but yes, so if you're going there with a specific goal to just like party your ass off, I'd say 3 days.
Yeah.
For how we did it, I would say 5 days was a little bit too short.
Really?
I would have liked 7 to 10 full days.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That says a lot for just one place.
I mean, there's just so much to do. And keep in mind, New Orleans is a very small part
Yeah.
of Louisiana in general. And technically, we hit a different part. Now, of course, I don't remember the name of it, but we hit a little place outside of New Orleans to do a swamp tour.
I was about to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, so like even some of the coolest stuff in Louisiana isn't even in New Orleans proper.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it depends on what you want to do. If you want to do a swamp tour, you're going to probably need more than 3 days,
Hmm.
you know? So yeah, I wish for the trip that we took, I do wish it was a little longer, but we did a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. I mean, we went specifically with a pre-designed list of all the things that we wanted to
Yeah.
hit, and we only didn't hit two of those items, and we actually adopted a whole new list
Yeah.
while we were there from talking to locals.
Hmm.
So we essentially completed two full lists of activities in 5 days, and I wish we would have had a little bit more time to do that as opposed to cramming everything into 5 days.
Yeah, but now like I always like kind of like especially with going to a new place, having something to go back and see again.
I agree.
Because there's nothing like worse than like you go to a place and then you're like we talked about this ad nauseum, probably a part of our Europe stuff
Mm-hmm.
of like well, I think it was Berlin for you guys, where it's just like, oh, this could have just been a day.
Yeah. Yep. That was Berlin for us in Europe. It was like 1 to 2 days is all we would have needed for what we wanted from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I always say with a grain of salt too. It depends what you want. For
Yeah.
us, I would have rather spent 2 days, 1 to 2 days in Berlin, but I would have rather spent 7 to 10 days in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want, But yeah, man, the food is next level there, and we tried the gamut between just quick service type of
Hmm.
food and James Beard award winning restaurants,
Yeah.
and everything that we did was just next level food. And the craziest part is I think the most disappointing restaurant that we had was the one that I was looking forward to one of the most.
Really? Which one was that?
It was called Johnny Sanchez.
Okay.
It is the famous chef Aaron Sanchez. He's on like
Hmm.
Master Chef and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So he's always been, when I watch him, he's always been one of my favorite
Hmm.
celebrity chefs because I like his vernacular that he uses. I like the way that he's very constructively like he's a constructive
Yeah.
critic, and so I really appreciate him, and I like his take on food. And then we go to his restaurant, and very disappointing. I mean, we ordered the wings to start,
Hmm.
and they brought out the wings, and they were legitimately frozen in the middle.
Oh,
And I was like,
it
that sucks.
is it because because he. This is sometimes a problem with like when someone's that big of a star with their restaurants, where it almost comes too tourist trappy,
Yeah.
like where it's just like, oh, this is just a Chili's at this point.
Yeah, it was essentially like you could tell they were writing off the name for a long time, and you can
Hmm.
tell that he just doesn't go there to check in.
Yeah.
And so it was disappointing. I mean, we went on a Friday night, and we were one of 3 people there,
Oh.
and they still served us frozen wings. And so for the first time in probably a decade, I sent food back.
Well, yeah. Like if it's something where I can eat it and I just don't like it, I'll do it. But at that point, that's like, oh, that's food poisoning. Like I
Yeah.
need to not have food poisoning.
Well, and not even the food poisoning aspect, just like frozen. That's insane. Like
Yeah.
it's not that difficult. So I sent those back, and then to their credit, they did take it off the bill and give us new ones, and the
Yeah.
new ones were perfect and it was delicious. But then we put in our entree order, and the fucking carne asada comes out cold. So 2 different items from the same
Yeah.
restaurant from a world-renowned chef come out cold, and we are one of 3 or 4 people in that restaurant.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for that.
Yeah. That to have back to back things like because you think, oh God, we've fucked up. We got to make it like the rest of we can't fuck up again, and then proceeds to fuck up again.
Yeah. So the fact that they served me 2 frozen and or cold,
Hmm.
items was too much for me. So that
What
sucked.
what place was unexpectedly good then? Like the reverse of that, or opposite?
Unexpectedly good was the Blue Bayou, which is just
Hmm.
like it's just a chain, almost like a Bubba Gump's type
Okay.
place,
Yeah.
and it was right off the main strip. And it
Hmm.
was the day that we got there. We got there late afternoon, so of course we're starving.
Yeah.
So we go drop off our stuff at the hotel. We leave and walk, and we're just kind of like, when you first get somewhere, you're walking around to get the lay of the land.
Yeah. You're just trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and we see Blue Bayou, and I was like, well, it's definitely a chain, but I
Hmm.
bet they have really good deals on drinks
Oh yeah.
because they're right off
That's.
like that Bourbon Street
Hmm.
area.
Yeah.
So we walk in there, we order drinks to start, and I'm like, you know what? I am pretty hungry. Do you want to just like start out with something,
Yeah.
and then maybe we'll hit somewhere else? And so we agree. We're gonna get the fried alligator
Hmm.
and the
Gator.
gator, baby.
Gator.
We're gonna get the fried alligator, and we're gonna get the red beans and rice,
Yeah.
just to quench our hunger.
Little appetizers.
Little apps,
Little
drinks and
snack
apps.
snack.
And so they bring out the cocktails, really great cocktails, and then the fried alligator comes out. This is my first time having actual alligator.
Oh, okay. What do
And
you mean an actual alligator?
well, I've had the quote unquote alligator tacos at some restaurants in Nebraska.
What?
I can neither confirm nor deny that it was real alligator that I ate at Voodoo Taco.
See, I'm a fan of voodoo tacos. So I'm going to say
I
they
am
might have
too. I am too. I cannot, now that I've had the alligator
actual
in New Orleans, I will tell you what I ate at Voodoo Taco.
was not the same
I don't
thing.
believe it was alligator. I
Well,
will
it
just
probably came
venture
all
that.
frozen and stuff, and you probably had actual like fresh gator.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm like, I'm not passing judgment, but I had what I
Okay.
know to be real alligator.
Okay.
And I gotta say, it was delicious, but it was a very strange textural mix between chicken
Mhm.
and fish.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I saw actually reminds me of a hilarious tweet I saw where it was like they say alligator and like chicken kind of taste similar. Well, it's because their ancestors are dinosaurs, so actually it's
Yeah,
just the taste of dinosaur.
that's a good point. Yeah, so I ate real dinosaur.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a very strange texture in the sense that it looks like chicken when you
Hmm.
see it, but it kind of feels like fish.
Yeah, it's. I'm guessing it was fried because the
Yeah.
only time I've ever had alligator, it's fried. I don't know if you can eat just non-fried
Yeah,
alligator.
they do serve. I was actually kind of, once again, I wish I had a little bit more time. The swamp tour guide was telling us that the best way to eat gator is like blackened gator.
I could see that kind
So
of like
you
again going back
just
to the fish or chicken.
you put all that seasoning on it and throw it on the grill. He said he was like, I don't eat alligator often, but when I do, that's the only way I like it.
It seems weird to eat alligator. I don't know. Maybe it's because we're from the Midwest and like just eating a reptile
Yeah.
is weird to me. Like,
Like I wouldn't eat a lizard, I don't think,
yeah, or like a snake.
or a snake. I don't. I mean, but I know people do it,
Yeah,
But
like it's a thing, but yeah, it's the only
when in the swamp, I guess.
it's the only like reptile I think I've eaten is alligator that I know of,
Supposedly,
supposedly.
you gotta hit New Orleans and order it for real.
Well, no, I've had it in Florida,
Florita.
Florida.
Oh, oh yeah. I guess they do have alligators over there. That
They have
makes
a shit
sense.
ton of
Or
alligators.
or are those crocodiles?
No, they're alligators.
Well, that's hearsay.
And I lived in Texas. That also has alligators.
Well, now we're getting crazy.
Because, New Orleans isn't that far away from Texas.
Alligators don't exist in the desert, dude. There's got to be swamps.
There's got to be swamps. There's got to just be humidity.
Yeah, yeah.
That is.
But anyways, yeah. So that was the most disappointing. Was Johnny Sanchez? Unfortunately, the most
Mhm.
surprising was Blue Bayou, and I think the best restaurant that we had by far was it was called Cachone.
Hmm.
It's a James Beard award winning restaurant.
Okay.
Very, very like high quality food for a very, very modest price.
For those people who don't know who James Beard is and why that means anything,
Lay it on them.
I don't know. There's actually for me.
Oh, oh.
I don't play the Damien of like for these people who don't know and I actually don't know game. I at least be like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is. So
I don't know the ins and outs of James Beard like I do the Michelin, but James Beard is like a very popular award
hmm.
that restaurants can get. I don't know what it's based off. I didn't do the research, but I did see that it was James Beard award winning, and I
Yeah,
assumed that meant that it was good. I
I
took my
it yeah,
chances.
it's that makes sense. Like also talking about Michelin
Mm-hmm.
restaurants. I learned so we'll have to get him on the podcast, but one of Abby's best friends from back in Iowa we saw recently, but the husband, he's from LA and he
Mm-hmm.
was recently back, and I guess I didn't know there is a like taco place that's a Michelin star restaurant.
In LA?
in LA. It's near Dodger Stadium, and I'm blanking on the
I
name.
think I remember that one. It's like the first of its kind to ever get a
Yeah,
Michelin restaurant for like a quick service.
yeah. Let me see.
Um, I do remember hearing about that too, but I don't recall.
Let's see. VS Tacos.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to hit that next time you're in town then.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to check it out. Yeah, he said he went, and he was like, "Yeah, it's for the hype," and so.
Here you go. So, James Beard Award is an award that recognizes exceptional talent and achievement in the culinary arts, hospitality, media, and broader food systems.
Hmm.
They're often referred to as the Oscars of the food world.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's a big deal, which is why I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I've always heard James Beard is like a very good award
Hmm.
to get. And so I specifically, when we were planning on going to New Orleans, I was like, we have to hit this Cachon place,
Yeah.
and it was just phenomenal. And we didn't have like, we kind of just decided last minute to go, and
Yeah.
it was an hour and like 10 minutes before they closed.
Okay.
So we walked in, no reservations, and they were like, yeah, I think we could probably get you in," because it was busy, but I
Yeah.
think we got there right at the time where they were like, well, there's no more reservations tonight, let's just seat them.
Yeah.
And they had these like classic handmade cocktails. I
Mm.
got the rabbit stew. It
Ooh.
was like rabbit and dumplings
Hmm.
in this crazy stew sauce. It's served in
Yeah.
a cast iron. We got beef cheeks, and we
Mm.
got all these like oysters and scallops. I mean,
Hmm.
it was incredible. So anybody who's listening that goes to New Orleans, check out Cachon.
Cachon. Is it in like the French Quarter, or is it more off the beaten path?
It's a little off the beaten path. We had to actually take an Uber from the
Yeah.
French Quarter to there. It was like a 8 or 9 minute
Hmm.
Uber, but too far to walk.
Okay. And then, did you all get beignets?
We did, and we compared Cafe Du Monde
Hmm.
to Cafe Beignet. And I gotta tell you,
Which one's the touristy one, and which one's more of the off, like not touristy?
Cafe Du Monde is the one that everybody says when you
Okay.
go to New Orleans, you
Hmm.
have to get Cafe Du Monde. It's like they're the ones that you see if you order a beignet mix. It's
Hmm.
from Cafe Du Monde
Okay.
usually.
Okay.
And I gotta tell you, I don't, I don't get it.
Nope, not the hype.
It was fine. Like Cafe Du Monde is good. The beignets were good.
Yeah.
The chicory coffee sucked. I hated it. I took 3 sips of it and tossed it, and it was like a $4 thing of coffee.
Yeah. Which says a
Not a big
lot
fan.
because we both love coffee.
I love
Even bad
coffee.
coffee, I love.
I love coffee, but it was essentially just black coffee with chicory flavoring, and I was like, okay,
Mm, yeah.
whatever. But it came highly recommended, so that's what I got. Beignets were good. I would say they
Mhm.
were the best beignets we had there in New Orleans, but
Oh,
they were not the best beignets I've ever had.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 2 days later, we went to Cafe Beignet,
Hmm.
and their coffee is way better,
Okay.
and their beignets actually have different flavorings available.
Hmm.
So I would put Cafe Beignet ahead of them
Hmm.
only because they have more options and their coffee is better.
Okay. But actual beignet, if you just want a bit like classic beignet with some like raspberry jam.
Yep, then I would go to Cafe Du Monde.
Okay.
If you want a little bit more selection, I would go to Cafe Beignet.
Hmm.
And Cafe
Let me.
Beignet is kind of like
Hmm.
there's
Okay.
multiple locations.
Okay.
So, yep, we did that. What else did we do? I mean, there was just so much stuff. We also went there with the list. So, Johnny Sanchez. Oh, Vampire Cafe. That
Yes.
was one that came highly recommended.
Hmm.
I would say for being such an obvious niche
Hmm.
cafe, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. The grits were maybe a minute undercooked for my liking,
Yeah.
and Abby's duck that she got was about a minute overcooked for my liking, but
Yeah.
the blood bags that you can order to drink are fun.
Mm-hmm.
And all the wait staff there is dressed up like vampires, so that's really
Yeah.
cool. We went to Stanley for breakfast, which came highly recommended from Indigo,
Okay.
and that place was really really great. So if you're looking for a good breakfast joint, it's in a hotel off the French Quarter, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really 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 good. And then of course the swamp tour. I was taken by surprise at how pretty swamps are.
They kind of are. Did was it like a big airboat or was it like more chill?
No, I paid extra to have a semi-private tour.
Okay.
So it was in just a little like motorized boat
Mm-hmm.
with us two, maybe three other couples, and then the tour guide.
That's not. That sounds more ideal because, like, yeah, with like a swamp like airboat tour, you're going so fast and like you can't really appreciate things as much.
Yeah, it's too fast, it's too noisy, and there's a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this one was 21 and up.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So I booked it was a little pricey, but it was well worth it. So if you go to
Did you
the swamptours.com or whatever, you can book that one.
did what did you like? You got of course probably see gators.
Oh yeah. Saw gators, we saw turtles. There was actually I was very surprised by this and people are probably like you're an idiot, but I didn't realize that raccoons are so
Mm-hmm.
popular in swamps.
Yep.
So we pulled into a little like alcove and there was just little baby raccoons around and he was like, "I know they're really cute, but if they start to get in the boat, you have to push them out
Oh,
because
got
they're going to wreak havoc."
yes.
So that was awesome. I was also very surprised at how cute the alligators were.
Um, baby alligators are pretty cute.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
We didn't see any like the big boys or anything.
those get a little scary. Like once you
Yeah,
get to like the 10-footers, you're like, all right, no, no, thank you. Did you get to
yeah.
hold a baby gator?
No, it was
Oh,
not an interactive one. I think both Abby and I were like, well, we've done that with dolphins, and I actually just kind of feel sad. like,
so the one time, this was in like outside of Houston. Me and Abby like ran. It was kind of cold, but we randomly went to like a like what are they called? I don't want to say conservation. Yeah, conservation sounds
sure,
right. Of like gators, and so we got a hold of gator there, and it
yeah,
didn't feel as sketchy because it was like, oh, these are actually people like helping gators versus just like yeah, being dolphins are the real sad ones.
yeah, yeah. I've interacted with animals on tours, and I'm just like, I don't think I need to do that anymore. It makes me a little sad, and not that
Yeah,
I have a whole lot of empathy for gators or anything, but I'm also just like, I don't know.
as you eat them.
Yeah, I'm like, it doesn't do anything for me to hold them. I'd rather just have a faceless piece of fried chicken in front of me.
Am I going to be canceled because I went and saw Shamu when I was 10 years old?
Of course. And I swam with dolphins at SeaWorld, so that's an even bigger cancellation.
Yeah, yeah, that's not great. And it's and, anytime you go to SeaWorld, it's just
Yeah,
blackfish.
not great. We did hit two of the local jazz clubs,
Mm-hmm.
like the ones that came highly recommended for like locals.
Yeah.
We hit two of those. They were fine. Once again, I prefer the ones that you just walk into because the ones for the locals have cover charges.
Oh, which I guess makes sense. Like you're like they need to make money too, but it is kind of
Hmm.
nice just stumbling into a jazz place and just
Yeah, and
vibing
they were
there.
playing, they were playing more of the like softer jazz,
Mm,
and then that kind of just makes me sleepy. So we
yeah.
liked walking into the ones where it's just it's an open concept. The music is way too loud,
Mm-hmm.
so it draws you in, and then you go in there for a beer or two, grab a Mitchie Ultra,
Yeah.
listen to a couple of songs. They play Uptown Funk jazz style, and you walk out. Like that's
Yeah.
that's more my style. But we checked out a Spotted Cat, which
Yeah.
is
I've
a
heard that
local
one.
jazz place. That
Mm-hmm.
was really cool, and I got to drop off a bunch of Triple R stickers
Yeah.
because everybody pastes stickers all over the place. So
Yeah.
I did that as well, and then we also went to DBA. which is another local one.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed at each of them for like 45 minutes or so, and I was like, all right, well, that's enough of that. I'm also just not a huge jazz fan. I think it's really
See,
cool, but
well, yeah, I know you're more of a Spurs fan.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Fuck
Uh,
Rudy Gobert. I don't even think he still plays for the Jazz anymore.
I think he's with the Hornets now.
Yeah, like yeah. So that was cool. And then just
What's
to shout
spooky
out
thing? Oh, no, sorry. Go with
oh,
your
just
shout
to
out.
shout out a couple of the things that were not on our list that came from some locals. Shout out to Courtney from one of the bars over there. Now I can't remember the name, but
Mm-hmm.
she knows about the podcast, so maybe she'll be listening. But she was the best bartender I've ever had, and she recommended the local tattoo parlor that she always goes to, and I got a new tattoo, and Abby did too. Just walked in. It's called Hell or High Water
Mm-hmm.
Tattoos. So we got tattoos based on her recommendation. She also recommended the Columns Hotel, which, by the way, if you're ever going to New Orleans and you want to stay off of the main strip,
Mm-hmm.
hit Columns Hotel. It's the classiest, prettiest, most haunted hotel you're going to find
Ooh.
in New Orleans. And it was fantastic. So they also built this new observation building where you go all the way to the
Mm.
top. They have a bar up there, and then you can do a full 360 walk around and view New Orleans from like 400 feet up. It's
That's
called
interesting.
View Orland, VUE.
Yeah.
And then shout out real quick. She also recommended this place, Gree Gree,
Mm-hmm.
which is a place that I have this cup from. Really good, like chef inspired, open concept restaurant. Very, very good. And that's basically it because I know we're 30 minutes in and I've only talked about New Orleans. So, oh shit! Wait, I forgot one other thing. We did the Sazerac House tour.
I don't know the significance of that as well.
If you're a fan of cocktails, which Abby and I are, the
Mm-hmm.
Sazerac is one of the most like renowned classic cocktails, and it originated in New Orleans. And they have an so similar to like the Guinness factory
Mm-hmm.
or the Jameson
Yeah.
factory. They have that, but in New Orleans for Sazerac. So we
Ah,
did a tour
okay.
through the Sazerac house, got blitzed off of a bunch
Yeah.
of whiskey and Sazerac, and I think that was probably for me that was probably my second favorite event that we went to besides the
Yeah.
swamp tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it definitely sounds. Yeah, I've never been to New Orleans. I think we drove through it once,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I know people who absolutely love it. So I eventually need to make my way down
It's well
there.
worth it, dude. I think it's worth a visit for just about anybody.
Hmm.
So, anyways, on to you, man. I haven't talked to you in like a month. What's going on?
Not too much. It's I think we wanted to talk about for our next thing is just because sometimes we like to go back to the theme of this podcast.
Every once in a while, yeah, it's probably good
Very
to.
loosely.
I mean, the New Orleans thing, kind of. I mean, we're a little
Yeah,
bit
that's
a little
true.
bit about travel, a little bit.
Travel and yeah. But so I had kind of a topic of like, what are you vibing on in LA right now? Like,
Ooh.
could be like local music or like a restaurant that you like kind of recently discovered or just like stuff that's going on or like what makes you happy to be in LA right now?
Damn. Well, can I actually pass that to you? Because I feel like I've hogged the mic this entire time.
Yeah.
Is there anything like I'll pass it back to you real quick? What about Lincoln? Are you vibing on right now?
I know this sounds so fucking generic-y, but the weather is finally getting to the perfect fall spooky season.
Hell
Whereas
yeah.
that like light breeze, the trees are like I live in an old ass neighborhood, so all the big trees are like yellow, red, and orange. It's like that time of year in Nebraska where you're like, oh yeah, this is why I live here kind of moment. Like that,
Yeah.
like 3 weeks where you're just super psyched to be here because the weather's perfect. The trees are beautiful. It's spooky season, and so
And you still have that nice green, luscious grass,
yes, yeah,
but everything else around you is changing. I got to tell you, man, the last time we went back to Omaha was in the fall,
yeah,
and it it made me a little bit emotional
Yeah.
because I was like, man, that's the Midwest right there. When I think of the epitome, like what draws people to the Midwest,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. Like, I think it was Monday night. We had like, it's also finally that time of year where you can have like the windows open so you can get a good breeze in. And
Mm-hmm.
someone was having a bonfire in our neighborhood, so we could get that smell. And it's like
Praise be.
it just smells like fall. Like leaves just smell like fall.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, no, it's just that's one big thing I've been vibing on is just that, and now other fall in the Midwest is just different. I don't know
Yeah.
if it is with LA because it probably just looks exactly the same.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm always trying to get some sort of like team engagement for my employees at work and stuff.
Mhm.
And usually I have a pretty good turnout with stuff, but it doesn't seem like Halloween is that big of a thing here. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
seem like I don't know. I think it is what it is. I think it's
Mhm.
just another kind of holiday type thing, but everybody's like, "Oh, I love spooky season," but then I ask like, "What are you guys' plans or what are your costumes or everything like that?" And
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh, nothing." So it's just weird. Like, and I don't know if that's just I don't think that's all of LA, obviously, but it doesn't seem like a staple.
Yeah. Like, do you get trick or treaters at your house?
Well, generally we're not ever home
Yeah.
on over Halloween because it's literally smack dab between Abby and I's birthday.
Oh yeah.
And so we're usually either on vacation or back home in Omaha
Mhm.
or celebrating or something like that. But I think it was it last year or the first year that we lived in this house, we didn't get a single person
Yeah.
trick or treating. And even in our last house in Azusa, we never got anybody.
Which is compared to me of like, I bought 2 bags of candy from Costco last year
Mhm.
and ran out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is everybody trick or treats in the
Yeah.
Midwest. It's like
Yeah.
the last hurrah before you're stuck inside for 6 months.
And even that, it could be like cold, and it's like, well, you're now a Power Ranger with a winter jacket on.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and it's so funny too because I had both things growing up. The ones where you don't even get to wear your full costume because you're in like winter coats and a
Yeah.
stocking cap and a scarf. But then there's the other ones where you're like, oh, it's actually going to be nice. I'm going to wear something that has like a full mask. But then
Yes.
it's
And you're
so dead hot
sweating.
and humid that you can't even wear the mask anymore. So it's like I've had both of those. It's in the Midwest. It's very rare to have a beautiful Halloween night,
Yeah.
which it
It
sounds like
really
you're
is.
trending towards this year.
I think we are. It seems like it's the perfect circumstances for it. And so,
Hell yeah, dude.
yeah. So I've been vibing on that.
So the weather is what you've
And
been
then,
vibing on in Lincoln. What else? There's got to be more than
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah. Also found a newer restaurant here in Lincoln. It's
Ooh.
a Hawaiian barbecue place.
Okay. Different than the
And
other one that you shouted out, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and it's delicious.
What's it called?
Howitz's.
Howitz's. Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice. What do
Um,
you get there?
um, we get me and Abby share. It's like called like the big boy meal
Okay.
because it's enough to like share, but it has like almost like a teriyaki chicken, and then like this almost like blackened fried chicken, which is
Ooh, okay.
interesting, and then like shrimpies.
Nice. Like coconut shrimps?
Not coconut shrimp, but like I don't know, it's really good grilled shrimp.
Like
Like
just
it's
grilled?
just
Okay.
yeah,
Right on.
it's delicious. And
Hell
then
yeah. So beautiful fall weather finally. New restaurant.
yeah,
What
and
else?
then what else?
Huskers.
Huskers. They
Husker season.
yeah, that's also, but it's kind of funny. It's also like up until a week ago, yeah, I think it has been the hottest October on record.
Yeah.
And so like the last home game was like back in like early October, which you think would be like super nice, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like 92 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough.
And they were like, giving warnings of being like, "Hey, people, you can bring water bottles into the stadium because it's so hot." And it's like,
Oh, well,
that's
that's
not a
good.
good. You're like,
I mean,
that's
it's
really
not a good
nice of you.
sign.
No, but no, that is always exciting to have like Husker football in the fall. It's a very Nebraska thing. Go to a tailgate, have some beers.
Fucking beers.
Mm-hmm. It is something really enjoy. I didn't realize how much I missed just going to tailgates to
I
when we're
was
back.
just I was just going to ask you if you're planning on doing any tailgating this year for the Husker season, because that is the epitome of
Yeah.
Nebraska.
Yeah. No. And I always show like even if you're not going to the football game, you still come to hang around the stadium because it is such a social event.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like
Honestly, a lot of the times when I would go to the tailgates, I would be like, "Can we just do this
stay.
and listen to the game?
Yeah.
This is so much fun." You bring the old pigskin, you bring some
Mhm.
cornhole, you bring those like mobile grills and grill up some
Yeah.
wieners and burgers. That shit. I mean, that's all I'm there for,
I
anyways.
I do have a confession.
Uh-oh.
I fucking hate cornhole now. I'm
What?
just I'm over it. It's
Why?
just it's just like too much of it. Like maybe it's because like I've been like a decade ago is when it started, and then
Yeah.
now it's just like, well, do anything at anyone's house in the Midwest. Well, we have cornhole.
Yeah, that's true. It sounds like somebody who loses at cornhole a lot.
Well, I just don't care about it. So yeah. It's like, can we be done with this? How can I lose as quickly as possible for us to be done?
Christian's just never hitting the board.
Yeah, essentially, it's like I'm not giving my heart into it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the only long game I'm like I'm done with it. Let's do
Yeah, that
something
makes sense.
else.
That your cornhole is my ladder ball. If I
See,
never play ladder ball again, I'm good.
I think I'm okay with ladder ball because cornhole has taken such a stronghold. I haven't played ladder ball in years.
Well, as you know, Abby and I have a custom-made cornhole set, so I won't I won't let your negativity affect my cornhole playing.
Oh no, we have a custom cornhole set as well from our wedding, and
That's why I hate it. Now it's just taking up space.
it's in the shed. It really is just taking. Actually, no, it is the boards are being very good. There's a hole in our shed where a possum got in
Sounds about
and
right.
and just started shitting everywhere. So one day, like I went to go get the lawnmower, and there's just like poop everywhere, and I was like, "What
You like
is this?"
Abby?
And then we looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, it's possum poop."
Possum poop. Clip it.
Which possum poop? Which again, possums are one of my like. Don't get me started on possums because I do love possums dearly,
Mm-hmm.
and I know way too much information. That's one of my like trains kind of thing. Is possums.
You run trains on possums?
No, I don't run trains on
Oh,
possums.
you said trains and possums. I just got confused.
No, it's my like neurodivergent thing. I know
Oh,
too much
okay.
about possums, like trains.
Well, lay it on me. It sounds like this.
You
It sounds like this is what you're vibing to in Lincoln. By the way, is possums.
possums? Kind of. Yeah, possum and like foxes because we have a ton of foxes in our neighborhood.
What is
We
that?
saw
Just like sexy older women?
no, just the sly animal that's
Mm,
orange.
word.
Word. Yeah. No. So back to the possums.
Yeah,
This is turned into a
it's a possum
possums
podcast.
are the possum poop and possum podcast. Who's a happy possum?
Don't get me started on this shit again. We're finally past this
I
misquote.
how hard it was for me not to mention my like infatuation with possums during that.
You like guys? It wasn't intentional. I just got so excited.
Yep, because
Yeah.
I was a happy possum.
Oh my god, that's so
So
funny.
possums are North America's only marsupial,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool. They're
Are they
one of the
indigenous though?
yes.
They're indigenous.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yes. They cannot get Lyme disease or rabies.
That's right. So yeah, they'll eat the ticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're very good for that. They look mean and scary, but actually are very docile.
Mm-hmm. Until they
Because their
hiss at you.
their whole life motto is essentially of, oh, this is overwhelming and too much with me. I'd rather just die, which is kind of my life motto.
Let's get him on the pod. Let's interview him. That sounds great. Yeah, they just hiss and keel over.
Yeah, think about that. They're like, well, this is too much. I guess I'd just rather die.
I get it.
Which is like, I can't be bothered, which again is very much to my being, I feel nowadays.
I mean, that's pretty much how this podcast is going to end.
It's just, well,
I've had enough.
We're done with this, I guess. We had a good run.
I don't want to do any more planning. I'm out of here.
Yep.
Just die.
I'd rather die.
Yep. Yeah.
Nope. All right. I feel like I've been hogging now. What about you for LA?
It's so funny too. It goes to show the discrepancy of like narcissism between us. I talk for 35 minutes and I interrupt you for 10 and you're like, I think I've talked too much.
Hey, I was getting some good interviewer questions.
That's true.
We've had that so many practice with all the people.
That's true. I feel like we don't even have to interview each other anymore. We're just here to fulfill an obligation to the fans who got used to listening to us, just us.
They're like, bring on the British people again.
Yes, more British. Well, let me just say, don't worry about that. We apparently we're a British podcast now. I don't know what the fuck is happening, but
or exclusively a music podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we're changing themes, baby.
I know music is a huge passion of mine. I just didn't ever think the podcast would revolve around that. So
same here. Like I think almost every podcast we talk about music, and that's gonna be one of my other topics I'm vibing on. But
go for it.
So found a new band out of actually someone suggested it to me. A new band out of Omaha. They're called After Arizona, just pop punk band. And
shout out.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a time to go catch them at some point.
Are they on the loose?
Yes, they are on the loose. The goose is loose. The Goose Gang.
Okay. So pop punk from Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
How many songs have you been vibing to? Do they have a pretty good selection, or is it just like an EP, or what is it looking like?
Yeah, I would say more of an EP than anything else.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely go give them a listen. I think any of their songs are fantastic.
What's their name again?
After Arizona.
Not Raising Arizona, the Nicolas Cage movie. Okay.
No, not that film.
Not to be confused.
Yes.
After Arizona. Okay, we'll give them a listen and shout out After Arizona. If you want to come on the podcast, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to reach out to them. And so, it's just kind of shocking. I did not know they were around. And someone was like, hey, you need to check these guys out. And I was like, okay.
Check these guys out and have them on the pod.
Yeah.
Are you getting a lot of that lately?
Not really.
Okay, I'm getting that all the time.
About who to have on the pod?
Yeah, you guys should have so-and-so on. I was like, okay. I mean,
just let me know.
I don't know who that is, so if you have a connection, go ahead and send them our information, but I don't know who you're talking about.
Why don't you have Oasis on?
Yeah. You guys should really have my friend George on. I'm like, okay. Send him our info, I guess.
Yeah. Tell him to follow us on the socials.
We'll have him on if he wants to plug the pod, but if he doesn't, either he has something to plug or he's got to plug the pod. I'm not having him on for nothing.
Wow, you've changed.
I've changed. Fame is getting to me, bro.
Yeah, we get invited to do things, to interview really cool bands.
Look, if I'm going to have somebody on, they need to have at least 100 followers.
Well, I guess this is goodbye.
I just delete myself. I'm not allowed on this podcast anymore. No,
Possum.
no, anyone's. Yeah, I'm just gonna die now. No, anyone's welcome. Yeah, keep sending your suggestions. We love to have people
Yeah.
on. Guests make it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more. We have to stay on topic a little bit and pay attention more. I feel like half the time we're just not listening to each other when it's just you and I.
What?
Huh?
Huh?
What was that?
What?
So what are you
Huh?
vibing on, Christian?
Huh?
Oh no, not the soundboard.
Kept that in my back pocket all episode, baby.
Clip it. No, I don't know. As far as things I've been vibing to in LA, I would say kind of honestly just the what I've been talking about lately. A lot of live music. We went to another
Mhm.
concert on Monday. Taylor Acorn, Shat App, and
Nice.
yeah, just the ability to go do something at any time. There's always something to do. A lot of parties, a lot of new restaurants. Every couple of days, I get an email of a hot new restaurant has popped up around
Mhm.
your area, and so there's no shortage of things to do. Also, living in LA and being from the Midwest, you get a lot of people who want to come out and
Yes.
visit. So if we're not actively going out and doing stuff like going to see live music, we're trying to rest in between
Mhm.
guests coming to visit. So this is actually one of the only times that you and I are going to get to record
Yeah.
again because now my sister's coming into town and she's going to be here this weekend. And then I think you're busy the weekend after that. And then we have guests,
Guess on guess on guess
guests
on
on guests
guess.
on guests. So yeah, I think this is like one of the only just you and I podcasts we're going to be able to do for a while. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to manage. Honestly, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm just trying to manage everything
Yeah.
between work getting busier, the podcast, not to like talk too much about the, you know, the ins and outs of the podcast or whatever, but we're getting a lot of messages and a lot of people
Mhm.
wanting to book stuff. And it's kind of turning into like a part-time job.
A little bit, yeah. Communications, and I know we've both been kind of tag teaming it. And luckily, both of our jobs have been shitty at different
Yeah,
points.
right. We got really
But
lucky
it's
there.
also really funny when you can tell because of like when my job was going okay, I was messaging you all the time. You're like, you couldn't message. And then, like, for example, today I was super busy and
Hmm.
I was like, oh God, I got to respond, but I don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say there's just a lot going on right now and it's not a bad thing. I mean, work is stressful, but I've never been, I've never had a job where I am so impactful before.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of new for me too, where it's like, it's not just another job. I actually kind of matter in this position. And it's
Yeah,
weird
it,
for
it
me.
it kind of gets weird where like, oh shit, I made myself important at work.
That's what I'm
How did
going
this
through.
happen?
Yep. I'm going through that right now where I'm like, oh shit, no, I have straight up like real responsibilities now, and
Yeah.
I'm not really used to that because I don't know, being in charge in restaurants is it really only matters while you're there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just about the food, you know.
Yeah.
But this is about like very, I mean, people's lives, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit more important than anything I've done before. So that plus all the guests and all the stuff like that, I'm like, I'm just vibing with trying to navigate everything. And I'm really glad that we have this podcast because it's a nice way to
Yeah.
even though it's getting more work, it's something outside of work to focus on, which is nice.
But it's also kind of like it's we're busy in a good way with the podcast. Like
Hmm.
it's a good thing. Like we're having like again, it sounds like we're complaining about this, but we're not.
Yeah,
Of like it's good we're busy because
yeah.
it means we're doing something right, right? Like
Well,
I
and
hope.
even if it's not that we're doing something right, it makes me feel like there's a purpose and
Yeah.
not just that it's just a thing for you and I, because it is ultimately just a thing for you and I to do. And if people like
Yeah.
it, great. And if not, then I don't really give a shit. But it does seem that we're, I don't know, people want to be on, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool with me. So yeah, I guess just keep tuning in. for more guest episodes. And with that, I will say I do think we have like one or two questions that came in,
Yes.
right? I feel like we should
Yes.
get to some of those before we end, and especially since this is one of our only times that you and I can chat, we should probably make this a little longer and get to some listener questions.
Yes. Yes. All right. You fire off with the first one.
Oh shit, I wasn't ready. Do you have one ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go. You go first. I'll go with the second one.
Okay. Let's see. Which one do I want to go with? Should we go more serious or more fun?
Let's go fun first.
All right. What is the most irresponsible purchase you've made?
That's a vague yet specific question. Ever in my life?
Yes.
God, I mean, my life's been full of them. I think I would have to say some of the most irresponsible decisions I've ever made with money generally involved when I was younger was just purchasing shitty cars for as cheap as I could get them just to try to manage the next couple of months. Because then I'm like, okay, I'll just buy this shitty car now and it'll get 2 or 3 months and then I'll just buy another shitty car. Whereas in reality, I should have just not been spending $900 to $1,500 every couple of months. Because you just don't realize.
Yeah, that adds up.
It's a vicious cycle. So probably the most irresponsible I've ever been with money is buying shitty car after shitty car. I mean, it was like 7 in a row of just terrible cars. When I
had a feeling you were gonna go that way.
Yeah, because other than that, I'm actually surprisingly fiscally responsible.
That's how I feel too. Like I'm honestly trying to think of like what I've irresponsibly spent money on, and it'd probably be booze. Like,
oh well, all right.
Does that count?
I don't know. I don't know that vices count.
Addiction.
Yeah, I don't think that's irresponsible. I think that's called keeping it steady.
Yep, just
keeping the shakes away. You know.
Gotta do my hit of mouthwash every day, or keep the shakes away.
Or parties. I think parties is a pretty big one for me too. Like hosting parties.
Yeah.
Where you're buying $300 worth of alcohol, nobody brings anything. You're also buying wieners and burgers and cook. It's like by the end of it, everybody's used your house as a party pad and nobody's pitched anything in. That's pretty irresponsible.
And it's kind of funny because again, with us growing up poor, the essence of like what we consider irresponsible spending, other people wouldn't.
A lot of people would be like, oh, probably the 6 jet skis I bought for me and my closest friends. I'm like, I've never done anything like that.
Actually, probably one of the more, I don't know if I would call it irresponsible purchases, but I guess it would be. I bought the Lego Harry Potter castle set.
Ooh, there you go.
But even that, it wasn't even that irresponsible because I bought the like AliExpress version.
It wasn't Hogwarts. It was just like
Hogwarts.
It was like hog herpes instead of Hogwarts.
But actually, I think it is like legit Lego that someone just like took off the line, and because it looks very legit, and I enjoyed it.
But I mean, what was that, like $100?
Yeah,
that's not that irresponsible. I would say one of the guiltiest I ever feel when I'm spending too much money is when I go through the Taco Bell drive-thru and order like $75 worth of Taco Bell. That's a hard one to manage the next day. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Should not. Yeah, like, and even again, not that like I don't really gamble either. So like,
yeah. Oh no, I don't either. Yeah, I don't like just tossing away money. Generally, I try to say, pay the bills. Anything that you have left is for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So is that really that irresponsible? I don't know. I think it's irresponsible if you just don't pay your bills and buy like 6 jet skis.
Yeah.
But when I was being very irresponsible, I just wouldn't pay my half of the bills or my share of the bills and just buy a shitty car and be like, well, what do you want me to do, man? I don't have a car. I need a car. So I think that's probably where I got all of my irresponsible purchases out.
Yeah. I guess my student loans. No.
I'm not using those at all.
No.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Uh,
What do you got?
Another question that came in was graduate. I feel like this is pointed at me. I feel like whoever submitted this is picking at me.
George.
Yeah, fucking George again. Was graduating from high school a big event for you?
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first because I feel like this motherfucker's asking for it.
Yeah. Not. I guess not really. I don't know it.
Like, did you have a party? Like, what happened? Like,
Oh
was
yeah.
it
Like I
like
saw
was it
the.
just like a hey pal, nice job, or was
No.
it was
I
there a
still had like.
graduation party?
Yeah, like family. Most of my extended like family in Omaha went to my high school graduation. We had like the graduation party where you have like the cake and pulled
Mm-hmm.
pork, and like you have friends come over and you have to like coordinate, and then so like yeah, I guess in that aspect it wasn't like a thing that I feel like I'm putting you down of like it was expected of me to graduate, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just it was like, well, you're going to college, like,
Did you
and so
make any cash off the venture?
yeah, I think I made enough to like get half a laptop paid for,
Yeah. You
which is
got
still
just
pretty nice though.
you got just the hardware, not the software.
Yeah, not even. I got the keyboard.
it was detached,
Yep. I couldn't get. I had to wait for student loans to get them on.
and it wasn't even the ergonomic style. It was just a plain flat keyboard.
Yeah, you're like, this is Windows 95 on it.
That's an upgrade to me.
Yeah.
Uh, high school graduation for me was only a big deal because it was such a surprise to everybody.
Yeah.
Um, for instance, we didn't know that I was going to graduate until like 2 weeks prior to graduation day
Yeah.
because I think I had like a 1.2 GPA or like a 1.5 GPA
Yeah.
at that point. And so I think it was very expected that I would just repeat my senior
Yeah.
year and or just get my GED.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, last minute doing a bunch of extra credit and turning in my assignments and stuff like that. And I think I graduated with like a D plus or a C minus.
It was get him the fuck out of here.
I think it was essentially just like we don't want him here anymore. Like
yes.
this guy's got to get out of here. And it's not because he's dumb, it's because he just doesn't even come to school.
Yeah.
Like my attendance was horrible. I would show up every couple of days for my senior year because I was like, I'm working, dude. I got a job. I can't be here. And so I think it was a big deal because it was a surprise. But because it was a surprise, my poor mother had to throw together this like last minute graduation party. None of my friends came. It was like a couple of family members. And she bought like a cake and stuff like that. But it was like, I wasn't even interested in being there. I was like, don't waste your time doing this. What are you doing?
Yeah. Was it kind of weird? Also, like, did your friends or like, I remember like grad party hopping and you're like, the next one felt just more extravagant the more you went to.
Yeah, especially being in Millard.
Yeah.
Every party you went to is like, they have this huge backyard and this, this big tent, the big tents covering the buffet line. And, you talk to your friends afterwards, like, yeah, but dude, I made like $600-700 off of that. And I'm like, oh, okay. My mom was just barely able to rent out the clubhouse of the apartment complex for me and like 4 other family members.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
None of
got to
my
think at
friends
that
came
point.
because they didn't know.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I just remember being like, oh, this is fancy.
Uh huh.
And then, yeah, it was just like, oh, so whatever you got in gift money just evens out what the cost of the party was. Or actually, your parents are losing money in this
Oh yeah,
transaction.
yeah. It's not for your. Yeah, I'm sure it killed them to watch you getting $500 and then knowing that they spent like 1,500 on the party.
Yeah.
So at least my mom didn't have to worry about that. I mean, I think you can rent the clubhouse for free.
Yeah. No, we just did it, in my parents' backyard, but we did like Costco food.
Yeah, yeah, for
Very
sure.
inexpensive.
So whoever submitted that, no, it wasn't a big deal. Okay.
I get, yeah, wasn't, and then my other two graduations were all right.
Yeah, what does that look like? I guess because I never went to college. Is graduating college a big deal? Because I feel like there's some major events in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are regarding like what is that called? It's like around eighth grade as a Catholic or a Christian,
Oh,
not christening.
confirmed?
Yeah,
Confirmed,
confirmation.
yeah.
So like
Confirmation, yeah.
confirmation was big. Uh, High school graduation was
Mm-hmm.
big, and then like certain pivotal birthdays were big.
Yeah.
But is it a big thing to graduate college, or is that kind of just I don't know? You went to college, we kind of expect it.
I think for me it was a big because I was the first one in my family to graduate from college.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big. But then also like I think what like going back to even high school graduation and undergrad graduation was I knew there was another thing coming, and so it took away almost a little bit from those accomplishments because I knew, I was already looking forward to the next thing, or like there was another big thing coming around. So I think law school graduation was bigger or than the other two for me at least.
That makes sense. That makes
Because
sense.
also the law school one was a little a little more like tougher and like it meant more. I felt like
Sure.
yeah, because I breezed through high school and undergrad for the most part,
Yeah.
and then law school was PTSD.
Yeah. Right. PTSD MD.
Yes,
PTSD
JD
PhD.
JD
Yeah.
is what I have.
Well,
Yeah,
Jesus
I have
damn.
it. My doctorate.
Yeah.
My
So
doctorate.
actually, this isn't a question that came in, but it just spawned a different question because we were talking about different like parties and celebrations. Like, is there one party or celebration that sticks out in your head as the most memorable or like the most fun that you've ever had? When you think of like the epitome
Ooh.
of like, oh, now that was a party that like changed my life, or that was a party that I'll never forget, or celebration or event.
I guess are you talking like house party or like a party because something got accomplished?
Either one or both. If you have two, that's even better.
Yeah, I'll separate them. I guess of the essence. I'll do house party of which you are involved in.
I always
Actually,
am, baby.
there's probably a few actually that but no, it would have been sophomore year of college Halloween party where you dressed up as the
The
beer.
beer,
I was.
yeah.
We might have talked about
I
this on
think
the
we've already
podcast.
talked about that, but that was a fantastic party.
That is one that will always stick out because I don't know how many people we had in that Lincoln basement. It was definitely a fire hazard.
Yeah, I would say at least 100, but maybe more.
It might have been more.
Yeah.
It like it was so loud, like we had the speakers all the way turned up, and you still couldn't hear the music.
Now, okay, here's another one to go with house parties. Which one? Where was the party that happened where Keegan was DJing? It was in Lincoln.
That's a lot.
There was multiple.
Yeah, there were a few
Okay,
because I DJ'd house parties as well.
okay, because there was one where he was DJing, and I came up with the
Oh,
remember that the
that
turtle
was
dance.
actually at a actual concert venue. That was a
Oh, okay.
legit. That was him legit performing at a concert
That's
venue
right.
called the Bourbon.
Yeah, that's one that always sticks to my head too, is watching him perform. I couldn't remember if it was like a venue or like a house or whatever, but
Yeah, so it was at it's called the Bourbon. It's like in the heart of downtown Lincoln, and they have the front room, which is more of the small room. Last time I was there, shout out to Bug Heaven.
hey, we got to get them
Lot,
on, by the way.
yes, we do. They play, so it was at the front room, and then they have the like big room, which
Mm-hmm.
is for a little bit bigger acts
Yeah.
that come through
Okay.
Lincoln.
Yeah, that's
But
one that
that's where
always
that was
sticks out.
at.
That's one that always sticks out to me, was that party or event. That was great.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think of a good celebration one. Law school was pretty good. We had like my roommate at the time. He also graduated from law school because we were in the same class together. But we had like a party in like our garage after graduation,
Nice.
so that was pretty fun.
That sounds Midwest to me.
Yeah, it was.
I
We had a long
graduated
bush light.
college. Come to my garage and party.
Yeah, that garage had a lot of good parties during law school. It was a good duplex.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a cheesy answer, but I would say probably my wedding.
I I see. I was gonna say that, but I felt like that was too cheesy as
I know.
well.
I'm like, it is cheesy, but anybody who is there, they'll
Yes,
tell you that shit was on point.
that was a lot of fun.
That was
That was
probably the
really good.
funnest wedding I've ever been to,
Mm-hmm.
and it was mine.
Yes.
That one's good. One of actually funny party story. I've never spoken about this because allegedly it happened. Allegedly this happened. I'm not saying it did.
Okay. Okay.
Allegedly this happened. One of the most fun party stories that I've ever experienced is when allegedly Abby and I lived together in a house that she was allegedly living in with some of her college friends, college roommates, and they
Okay.
bought a house or rented a house, and I didn't have a place to live, so I moved in with her there for a couple of months
Yeah.
allegedly, and
Allegedly.
they were the worst roommates of all time, and they were currently working on kicking us out
Yeah.
because they were mad that Abby borrowed one of their textbooks for homework without asking, but she borrowed it and put it back, but I guess she put
Yeah.
it back in a different spot. And
That
just
was the that
yeah.
was not the man living in her room who's not
Yeah.
paying rent or utilities.
Well, hilariously enough, so they just assumed it was her. It was her, but they didn't ask. They
Yeah.
just assumed it was her. And so they're working on like kicking her out to have, but she was like, I'm not moving out and breaking the lease and having to pay. Like, you guys are the ones
Yeah.
kicking me out, you know? But the funniest part about that was they didn't kick me out. They specifically were like, Damien can stay, but Abby has to leave. And I wasn't paying rent.
Yes.
so so that was funny. Allegedly that happened. So one of the things that happened was before we were set to move out, they
Mhm.
had this giant party
Yeah.
of their college friends. And keep in mind, the house that we were renting was one of the roommates' parents' houses. And so
All right.
they throw this big party.
Where
They
is this at in Omaha?
oh fuck. I don't remember. Like, I can't even answer because Abby's gonna like kick me because I can't
Yeah.
remember. But it was like not quite to Dundee, not quite in Benson, like somewhere in between. Like
Okay. Somewhere.
or like
Okay.
closer to Creighton, I think,
Okay.
if that makes any sense to anybody who's listening.
It doesn't because you just said a huge
A
triangle
huge
somewhere
difference.
between Benson, Dundee, and
And
Creighton.
downtown, yeah. It was closer to downtown, kind of close to that Hy-Vee down on like near Creighton. So there's like the Crack Donald's and the
Mhm.
Hy-Vee. I think it's on
Okay.
like
Yeah.
Howard Street or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's
So
actually accurate. Yeah.
yeah, pretty like downtown ish.
Mhm.
Anyways, so these roommates are working on kicking Abby out
Mhm.
allegedly, and they throw this huge house party around Halloween, and
Yeah.
they don't invite us.
But you
And
live
so,
there.
yeah. And so they don't tell us about it. They don't invite us. Abby and I were visiting her family, and we come home. We're driving home that night, and we just see all these cars, all these like purple green
Yeah.
lights, all this music is blaring and stuff like that. And we're like, oh no shit. Okay, so they're gonna throw a party. They're not gonna tell us about it, and they're not even gonna invite us, and we still technically
Yeah.
live here. So we may or may not. And keep in mind, two of the
Allegedly.
girls allegedly two of the girls were not 21.
Okay.
And so we drive past, we see that there's a party, we go, oh hell no. And so allegedly we may or may not have called the cops on them.
I figured this is where the story was
And
going.
so we drive around. One of Abby's friends lived in the vicinity at the time, so we
Mm-hmm.
went over and partied over there for a little while. And after about 2 or 3 hours, we go back home.
Yeah.
And we walk in the door, and they're like, all the lights are off, and they're like peering out the windows, and like all the cars are gone. And we walk in, and we're like, why is it so dark in here? What are you guys doing? And they're like, well, we were having like a small little get together, and the cops came and knocked on the door, and we just didn't know what to do, so we just turned out all the lights and didn't answer the door. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder how that happened. You guys,
Yeah.
it was just a little party, you say? Like what, one or two people? And they're like, no, yeah, just like 3 or 4 people. It was just like a house full of people with like the speakers blaring. So
I
that
love
allegedly might have happened in this circumstance, maybe.
I love how one of your favorite party stories is not a party you actually were attended.
Well, if I was attending, it wouldn't have been a problem,
Yeah.
you know. So no, there's too many good fucking party stories, man. I could go on for days and days and days. I mean, we had some killer parties while you were here. We just had a couple of killer parties.
Mm-hmm.
Keegan and Indigo were here a couple weeks ago. That was a great party. So yeah, there's some good ones. I figured I'd change it up a little bit and talk about one I wasn't at.
That is, yeah, no, that is very interesting.
And that may or may not have ever happened. I don't know. I can't confirm.
I think it's okay at this point to to confess.
Confess what, dude? I'm just making up stories, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, folks. I think we've rambled long enough. Thanks for submitting the questions.
Yes.
Keep them coming.
Yes.
Keep tuning in to check out all of the up and coming bands. There's a lot
Yes.
coming your way.
Yes. When does
And
this come? I don't know when this comes out, so I won't spoil anything of who we've interviewed already.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're so far behind schedule
Yeah.
on recording this, so I don't even know when this is going to come out. So I don't know. Tune in, don't tune in. It doesn't matter to me. The interviews are happening one way or the other.
Yes.
So whether you want to listen to them or not, they're coming out. So bye.
Bye.